Welcome, friends. Today I wanted to talk about how amazing it is to be alive, and how lucky we are to be alive. Life just seems to be so rare and special in the universe. You have to have kind of just the right mix of ingredients for it to form. Actually, one of the hardest ingredients to come by is regular old liquid water. Water is actually pretty abundant in the universe, but most places are just too hot or too cold for it to be liquid water. So like Mars, for example, is too cold. It actually used to have liquid water because it used to have an atmosphere, but the sun is basically a giant nuclear explosion just blowing radioactive wind everywhere, and that wind kind of stripped away most of Mars's atmosphere. And Earth's atmosphere would have been stripped too, but Earth has a core of molten iron that spins around so fast it generates like a force field that blocks all the solar wind. So Earth was able to keep its atmosphere, and that's why we have oceans. And at the bottom of the ocean, where the seafloor kind of opens up, the chemicals in the crust kind of mix with the hot seawater. It's like this bubbling chemical cauldron, and it's probably where life as we know it first formed. So life on Earth has existed for about 4 billion years, and it started out just as cells, but the Earth is sort of always changing and moving around, like tectonic plates are moving around, and the atmosphere is changing composition, and the magnetic field is flipping, so nothing really stays the same for that long, and life has had to adapt and evolve into all these kind of different forms to keep up. But even though life has diversified so much, it's still all connected to each other in this giant web called the biosphere. And every single living thing on Earth is sort of woven into it in some way. It's almost like a planet-wide life form, and all the individual life forms are just cells in this massive body. And Earth is the only planet that we know of that has it. We found thousands of exoplanets, and as far as we know, none of them have a biosphere. And that makes us pretty special, I think. And the best part is that we're a part of this amazing biosphere. We're a part of nature. You know, I feel like we get in the habit of thinking of ourselves as like visitors to nature, but we're definitely part of it because we're definitely alive the same way everything else is alive. We're all just branches of this giant evolutionary tree. We split away from our nearest relatives, which are chimpanzees and bonobos, pretty recently, so we still have almost all the same DNA as they do, and we actually still have almost exactly the same brains as they do, and they're just sort of adapted for slightly different things. So, like, chimpanzees kind of specialize a little more in working memory and physical problem solving than we do. But you know what's crazy? Bonobos can play Minecraft. There's this one bonobo, Kanzi, who defeated the Ender Dragon, which is personally something I've never done. So are we really that much more intelligent, or are we just differently intelligent? That kind of made me really curious, and I sort of wondered, like, what exactly makes us human then? And I really wanted to know what it was. So I read a bunch of papers, and I emailed some experts, and I wasn't really expecting this, but I found out that what makes us human is connection to each other. Okay, so the current story we have surrounding human evolution goes something like this. About 5, 6, 7 million years ago, the Earth was changing a lot because the temperature was all over the place. But on average, it was decreasing, and that meant that the forests in Africa started to recede and get replaced by grasses. And our ancestors, who were adapted to live in the trees, they had to start walking into the grasslands to forage for food. And because the environment was so unfamiliar and it was changing so rapidly, they really had to start to work together and collaborate more in order to survive. And so they evolved to become not just social, but ultra-social. They evolved to start helping and teaching and sharing with people they weren't even related to. And that strategy was just so successful that they just kept becoming more and more cooperative until they became us. We have so many amazing adaptations. For example, we have empathy, which I know it doesn't sound that cool, but it's really incredible because what it basically means is that we can feel the emotions of others for ourselves. New research is showing that we can synchronize our brainwaves with each other. And when I learned that, I was like, damn, I really wish I was telling you this in person so we can synchronize our brainwaves with each other. But it's okay because we have another superpower, and that's language. So we can just tell each other what's in our minds. These abilities do seem almost a little overpowered, but they do come at a cost because we're basically interdependent with each other. We can't even survive alone. Like, if a human can survive alone, it's because someone taught them survival skills. But chimps and bonobos can do just fine by themselves. Chimpanzees and bonobos, they do help each other and teach each other and share with each other, but once a chimpanzee figures out how to do something, they're probably just going to keep doing it that way. Humans, if we find out a better way to do something, we'll just do that. So if someone has a really good idea, they can teach it to everyone else, and then someone else can build on that idea. They can come up with a new idea and teach that to everyone else. And this just keeps happening and happening and happening. That's how we've come up with all of our best ideas and all of our technologies, is by people continuously improving on other people's ideas. But it's not just each other we can learn from, because like I was saying earlier, we're not really more intelligent than other forms of life. We're just differently intelligent. We're socially and emotionally intelligent. We can use that intelligence to learn from other kinds of life and from our environment. I like to think of it like we're all neurons in like a big super brain. Because, in our brains, our neurons are like sending electrical signals to each other, information from the world, like light and color and sounds and feelings and everything. And it's like kind of combining it and processing it into like a consciousness. So we can do that with each other as well. We can share information with each other about the world and combine it into an even greater cultural consciousness. So these cultures, these sort of super intelligences, they live all over the biosphere, and they're super rich and diverse because the biosphere is so rich and diverse. Cultures can sort of learn about a different part of the biosphere and create art and music and food and traditions and technology that respond to that environment. And we can also adapt the environment to us. So we can modify plants to be tastier, or animals to be friendlier, or forests to be more biodiverse. With culture, we can have a conscious relationship with the rest of the biosphere. We can choose how we interact with it. When I found out about this, I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. I felt like it was something out of a sci-fi story. We're these hyper-empathetic beings that can synchronize our brainwaves and connect our minds to create a super intelligence about nature. I couldn't make this stuff up if I tried. But then I sort of started wondering why that felt all so mystical to me. Why didn't I know that I had these capabilities? Why did I have to research this stuff? And why couldn't I just feel it? And what I realized is I don't have a culture like the one that I'm describing. I wasn't taught an environmental intelligence. I was never told how I'm supposed to relate to my environment, because in my culture, the environment is just a backdrop. It's not an animate being that you have a relationship with, it's a backdrop. I wasn't taught an emotional intelligence either. I wasn't taught how to feel the emotions of others because I wasn't even taught how to feel my own emotions. In my culture, there's certain emotions like anxiety or depression that you're just not supposed to feel. And you either suppress them or you get them treated like there's some kind of disease. And I wasn't even taught a social intelligence. I wasn't taught how to collaborate and share ideas. I was taught that I should be able to do things by myself and pull myself up by my bootstraps and work hard. The only intelligence I know for sure I was taught by my culture is this kind of logical, computational intelligence. Because what I realized is that my culture, it doesn't function like a brain, it functions like a machine. And I am not a neuron, I'm a cog. Everything in this culture is organized around math, around numbers. Math is considered the objective truth, but because of that, if something can't be described with numbers, it just doesn't exist in this culture. It isn't valuable, it doesn't matter. So things like social and emotional bonds, things that make us human, just aren't important. Only things that can be quantified are valuable. So in order to process how valuable everything is, this machine has to use an equation, and it goes like this. Profit equals revenue minus cost, and profit has to be maximized. So the way this ends up working in practice is that people like you and me get contracted out to do work that creates revenue. But the thing is, our labor costs money. And this machine is designed to maximize profit, so it's designed to maximize revenue and minimize cost. So it's designed to work us as hard as it possibly can while paying us as little as it can possibly get away with. And it works best when people are paid nothing at all for their labor. And that idea kind of reminds me of this one time that a bunch of people were brought here against their will, and they were forced to work, and they weren't paid anything for it, and it went on for a few hundred years, they weren't paid at all, and I forget what it was called. Anyway, whatever it was, it's still happening. It's just, kind of harder to see it happening, but it's still definitely happening, because what happens today, the machine just labels people as illegal or criminals, and it goes into their homes, and it forces them out, and it sends them to prison, or it deports them, or both. This machine doesn't guarantee them human rights, and so they can be exploited and overworked and paid almost nothing for it. Because it doesn't value us as people. It values us by how productive we are. how much revenue we can generate, but not us. This is how everything in this machine is designed, to maximize profit no matter what the cost is to us or our world. So human rights like education, healthcare, transportation, things that we need to live, this machine runs them like a business so that they can drive a profit. It's not designed for our well-being. It's not designed for us to even exist in. It turned into this oppressive landscape that's impossible to live in. This machine has been destroying our environments. It's been completely tearing apart the biosphere. It's been tearing apart our home. And it's been growing so fast and taking over so much and destroying and consuming so much that it really looks like the biosphere is about to completely collapse. The most beautiful, most magical, most special thing there is in the universe is life. It's this biosphere. And we're just going to let it die? I don't know. I couldn't accept that. As a part of the biosphere and as someone who just loves the biosphere so much, I just couldn't accept that. Especially when we as humans are perfectly positioned to do something about it. We're the ones who can connect our minds and share information and create a super intelligence about the world. We're the ones who built this machine, so we're definitely the ones who can stop it. We're the ones who have the power and therefore the responsibility to do something about it, to decide how our story will go and tell it for ourselves, not let the machine tell it for us. So we have to decide. We have to decide if we're going to tell the story of how the machine destroyed the entire biosphere and us with it, or if we're going to tell the story of how we united and we stopped it. So then the only question I had left was, what do we do to stop the machine? And I mean, obviously I don't know, but I have some ideas. The way I understand it, we're the ones that create all the profit when we work and also when we buy stuff. We kind of are the ones that keep the machine going. So if we want to stop it, we have to stop feeding it. We have to stop working for it whenever we can. We have to stop buying stuff from it whenever we can. We have to choose each other. We have to build community with each other. There's something that we can all do and contribute, right? So maybe it's like giving someone a ride, or like cooking someone a meal, or letting someone stay at your house. Doing things for free whenever we can. Doing things for each other, not involving the machine. I don't know if it's like a community service organization or like a climate coalition or a union, whatever it is, whatever is important to you in your life, start fighting for it with other people. Over the thousands of years we've been on this planet, we've come up with a lot of knowledge. So I think in order for us to stop this machine and to build the world we want to live in, we have to make use of all that knowledge. We have to acknowledge the wisdom of other cultures, because they're all just knowledgeable about different things. So imagine if we combined all of that intelligence together, how much wiser we'd be for it. But the reason that we don't hear all these stories and we don't hear this knowledge is because the machine silences it. So that's why we have to go out of our way to find these stories for ourselves, the ones that the machine won't tell us. We have to start seeking them out. We have to start looking for diverse cultural perspectives ourselves, and we have to start learning from them. And we have to build community. We have to connect with each other. Okay, quick break, because there's dolphins here right now, so let's see if we can see any.
So maybe they're fishing. Oh, they're being pretty.
Ooh!
What?
Yeah, like let's just all start imagining what the world we want to live in looks like. Imagine if everyone had health care for free, and you didn't have to pay thousands of dollars to like break your arm or have a kid. And imagine if education was free and anyone could go to school and university whenever they wanted and they wouldn't have to be in debt for the rest of their lives. Imagine if there was community gardens everywhere, and if you were hungry you could just like pick an apple and eat it. Imagine if there was nature everywhere, because actually the best solutions we have to adapt and mitigate climate change are nature. The best technology we have for carbon capture is forests. The best technology we have for flooding, mangroves. There's just so much wisdom in nature, and imagine if we got to see it and experience it for ourselves all the time in our cities and our towns and our homes. It could happen. I don't see why it couldn't happen. We could repair our relationship with nature. We could heal the biosphere. We could heal ourselves. We could thrive. We could thrive with the biosphere. This vision for the world that I have, I know I'm not the only one who has it, and that means it can become our reality.